Episode
Here we go.
16, part 4, and once again we feel compelled to talk about school pew-pewings because Minnesota just had not one, not two, but apparently 3 or 4 within a 48-hour period. So that was the first crazy part of that one. The second crazy part of that one was that it happened at all, which unfortunately is not crazy because I think somebody said there were several hundred that had already happened this year. Maybe we'll pull up the number before we finish this segment. Anyways, too many. And we are still the only country that continues to have this problem on a regular basis because we're the only country that does nothing about it, basically. I mean, we'll talk about it till we're blue in the face, but none of the things that we know work, or even the things that might work, do we even attempt to try. And the only things we do try are things that we know are not going to work. We're, like, oh, we're going to put in security guards. Oh, we're going to, I have said it before, and I will say it again. Uvalde is the perfect example that proves that it is not for giving pew-pews to the good guys is not the way to solve this. Okay, it just that's not ever going to solve this particular problem.
Yeah, I mean, that is the prime example of, that their solution always is, well, if the good guys have guns, and this is bad people with guns, right? So let's go to the two solutions that they've come up with. One being gun control, and certainly if you have gun control in America, and it worked in Australia and it's worked in Britain. Right, that when they didn't have it never got to the point it is in America and these countries before they put a clamp down on this, right? But that seems, statistically to have made a pretty considerable difference
in the places where they've done it. Yes,
right. Did it stop violence from people that are distraught? Not completely, but what it did do is reduce the amount of deaths that happen when somebody fucking snaps, right? And then the second thing they talk about is mental health. That if we address the mental health problem, that this is a solution as well. And I think that, like, once again, here we have an issue because how we address mental health in this country, I don't think is correct. Because what we were talking about in this last segment about how they always want to blame the individual for systemic problems. So certainly if we did approach this, right, let's just say start getting some gun legislation in place so that people that are having problems
have less access to the product.
Get less access, right? So will it reduce the number of instances?
Maybe not.
I don't believe it would, but maybe it would reduce the amount of killing because if you're only killing with a handgun instead of a AK-47,
or a knife instead of a
right. But here's another issue at play. In America, there is far more weapons per capita. That's not to say that, some of these other countries don't have lots of guns, lots of hunting rifles and things like that. But I'm going to get to, like, what I see as the core problem, and that even if you address these two things that everyone's talking about, gun control and mental health, it's not going to fix it. It's not going to fix it. It might reduce it. It might make it less severe in some cases. But that's not the core problem. That is not the core problem. The core problem is our fucking society, is our culture. It's violent, it's abusive, it's vindictive, it's retaliatory. Everything. Look at all these movies. Every fucking movie's about revenge, isn't it? Just about everything. And that's everything. These John Wick movies. Like, you kill your dog, you go murder people. Like, what do you like? And then you're this kid. You're constantly being abused. And I'm not saying that some people aren't just born psychopaths. But generally, they become serial killers. They don't go to a school and shoot it. These people have gotten to the point of nihilism where all the pain and suffering that they've endured, they're going to inflict on as many people as they can in the worst way they can to make you hurt as bad as you hurt them. Why are these, I saw this great quote, something about when you poison the well, what do you think is going to happen to the people who drink it? We poison this whole society. So until we change this system, this is not going away. You might be able to reduce it in one way or another, but people would say, well, I hear things like, these other countries have so many guns. Yeah, but they have free healthcare. They have, they have free education. They're more communal. They have these different apparatuses. In America, it's just gotten so bad. It's gotten so bad since like the 80s into the 90s. This vicious criminal. Look at, I was watching this George Carlin, right? And he was talking about Reagan. And this is like in the 80s. And he was like, the Reagan administration. And then he's like, 250 of them are criminals, are convicted criminals. And he was like naming off a bunch of them. All fucking, we have a criminal system. People are.
That was nothing compared to now.
That's nothing compared to today. We have literal felon rapists in the White House. What? I was telling Al before, and I know I don't have a popular opinion here, and I'm probably going to get a lot of backlash, but I don't understand why. I think I've said this before. Like, my mind doesn't go there. Like, I get angry, but then I get sad. Like, it's just a mask for my sadness. But I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often. I'm surprised more people aren't losing their shit and just fucking going off.
As I pointed out, it is happening more often than we realize. But what happens is somebody walks onto a campus, they get stopped, and then it never hits the news cycle.
Right, or like you said, the four in Minnesota, maybe only they did some shooting, no one died, or it wasn't like 30 people.
Right, because for the most part, most of us only heard about the one that we're talking about now, but there were 2 or 3 others.
Right, so there were some kids who just teed off on, and it might have been people just it might have been.
I'm not exactly sure the details.
Right, it might not have been just one of these
other
kids who wanted to indiscriminately murder a bunch of people because they're pissed off. It might have been this guy janked me on a drug deal and I'm gonna go kill him. We don't know. So, but anyways, So why are these, and then I'll go back to the mental health thing. So the gun thing. Yeah, go ahead, put the gun controls in. May it stop somebody from getting a gun? Look, they're out there. What are you gonna do? You gonna go to everyone's house and pull their AKs? They're out there, man.
No, but as you said though, if it reduces the
I'm not saying don't do it.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
If it helps, it helps. I mean,
I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying. You think that's going to solve it?
It's not going to eliminate the problem, but if it helps,
if it helps, it helps.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
It helped in Australia, but you have to understand they have a whole different dynamic over there, how they live and everything else in their existence. And they were able to go to everybody's house and pull their fucking shit. I don't see that happening.
No, you do that here, people are going to
lose their shit.
Yeah.
So I just don't think that's plausible here. I would love for it to happen, but go ahead and do it. I don't give a fuck. I just don't see it as plausible right off the bat. And then secondly, and then the mental health. So, okay, go ahead, send them the mental health. You know what they're going to tell these kids? You're the problem, and you need to adjust to this sick society. And anybody who's gone to these mental health, any kind of mental health, they got their self-analyzed, whatever else, the whole system is just geared to get you back to work, to get to what they call functioning. What does functioning mean to this society?
Worker school, yeah.
That means you go back to work and take the abuse. It doesn't describe to you the trauma-induced mental issues that you have in most cases. Now, more and more and more, you might get some of that. It's certain psychologists and the ones that are more progressive. But for the most part, you go in, you're going to see a psychiatrist. They're going to diagnose you in 10 minutes and give you a fucking pill until you get back to work. And they're not going to address the fundamental core issues.
Or they're going to do it more nicely and, okay, over a couple of days, and then you have the pill, and then it's,
right.
Are you well enough to go back to work?
Right.
As
Or
opposed
they're
to
going
get
to
back
say,
to work.
they're going to say
concept.
you're bipolar. Or they're going to say you have, what are the other ones? Borderline personality disorder, generalized anxiety. And all of these symptoms overlap. So you can see one psychologist, they'll tell you one thing. You see another, because even the individual has to have self-awareness and describe their thought processes. A lot of times, these symptoms, these behavioral, this types of behavior overlap for all of these, and then they'll just say, "Well, if you have 4 of the 10, then you're this." But I'm also that too. Then and I have anxiety, and I have this, and then well, you have this and this, and then to get to the real bottom of the way they put these things into categories is, well, what's the motivation behind it? Because you're like, well, all these are the same. They're like, well, the motivation's a little bit different here than here, But it's like, okay, but if you're dealing with a person who lacks the self-awareness, and they're telling you something that's not true because they don't even understand it themselves. And then you're looking at it through a lens of your own biased lens. How are you getting to an accurate picture here? How are you really truly understanding what's happening? How are you getting to the core? And what you're finding out, what a lot of people are finding out, and like I said, this goes back a few weeks, whether you're a neuroscientist or you're a psychologist or even some psychiatrists, and the ones who are in the disease model are starting to slide back into like, well, and you can look back in literature and everything else, and it's always kind of been identified up until like the 60s, 70s, 80s, especially 90s, where now you're diseased and you got a chemical imbalance. It's like, yeah, the chemical imbalance came from the abuse. That's why my brain's all fucked up, my amygdala's too big, and I can't like process shit right.
But almost all people who fit one of those categories, you take them, you give them 3 square meals a day, 8 hours of sleep, and maybe 1 or 2 other
exercise,
a
community, and some people that love them, some love and compassion and kindness,
right? And then
all that shit goes away. And then
most of that shit, with or without medication, with or without therapy, goes away.
Exactly. So I mean, so yeah. Go ahead, get rid of the guns. Go ahead, send them to these to mental health. But until we fix the mental health industry. And I'm saying like it's all bad, they're all horrible. No, there's good ones. There's good ones who understand some of this shit and they'll work with you. But for the most
basic
part,
framework, basically.
The basic framework needs to be, and it is. It's starting to adjust. I'm not saying that it's all horseshit and don't do it. Yeah, fucking go, but find something that works for you. Don't fucking take their word for it if it's not working for you. But Al said it. There's some fundamental things that you can start with, and then learn how to cope. If you have this thing and you go to, let's say you do cognitive behavioral therapy or dialectical behavioral therapy or something of that sort, right? Which is kind of just offshoots of this. DBT, yes, dialectical. If you do these things, yes, they're going to help. But is that the real existential dilemma and crisis that you're dealing with? You got to go deeper, man. You got to go real deep. Those things are helpful. But you got to dive deeper. So yeah, I mean, that's my take on it. I don't know how popular that is. I don't have much hope. Because I think even if we address the guns, even if we address their mental health, which they won't, not for decades, they won't. So this is going to continue because they haven't even figured out the problem. Because all you hear is, oh, get rid of the guns and send them to mental health facilities. That's not going to work.
Yeah. I don't know. My quick summary is just, I mean, from a political viewpoint, Republicans are making the problem worse. Democrats, at best, are kind of...
They won't even recognize it as a problem.
they're kind of slapping on a few Band-Aids at best.
Well, you had this analogy way back that was brilliant about... It's like the functioning alcoholic.
Oh, yeah.
So in America, the functioning... Not even functioning anymore.
Well, right.
It's a staggering drunk that's like falling down on its head now. But... So here, like the Republicans are just in denial.
Yeah.
Like they're falling on their face and they're in denial. Like, how do you even start fixing the problem when you have a whole fucking half of the society that denies that the fucking problem exists?